Well, welcome back to The Mouse and Men, where we explore the grown-up side of Disney. Before we get started, I gotta say, go find us on social media at The Mouse and Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or you can go to themouseandmen.com where you can get links to all of those social accounts. You can find us on YouTube where we broadcast the podcast, and you can also download our PDF of the top 10 things for grown-ups to do in Walt Disney World. I am Bradley. I'm here with my co-caster, Chris. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm liking this co-caster Chris thing, this triple C.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's alliteration and it just flows. You know, we broadcast the podcast and then I got my co-caster. It's just all coming together.
Let's do it, man. And coming together, we should come together in a nice, orderly fashion as to not hurt people if we're running past them at Disney, but also to make sure that we get our steps in for the day.
Exactly. And why do you bring up getting steps in and getting exercise? Well, because today we're going to be talking about how to stay fit, how to get exercise on property. And I know you get plenty of steps just walking around the parks, but you're not necessarily at the parks every day. Some of us are health nuts and okay, we've walked 40,000 steps today, but we still got to lift weights or something. So we're going to get into all that right now on The Mouse and Men. So Chris, I know you worked out a little bit when we went down there together in August of 2019. What is your background with exercise on Disney property?
Well, most of my background exercising on Disney property is how many steps I can get in the parks. And I mean, that's where basically everybody starts off from. I remember, though, that my wife and I, we first started going to Disney. We were dating at the time. We would go down with like her family and go down there. And they were at such a quick clip through all of as many things as we could do in one day. Go to sleep, wake up, do it all over again. It was a hustle all day long. And sure, you're going to have your random 30-minute to an hour and a half wait as you're sitting there waiting for Space Mountain to rock and roll, or Carousel of Progress a couple minutes longer. Maybe not an hour and a half for Carousel of Progress, but we would rest when we were waiting for the rides. Then we would ride the rides, get really excited, and then we would hustle to the next thing so we could ride as many as we can. And I just watched today a video of the WDW 47, which I know that you and I drink around the world. This is another challenge where you try to do all 47 rides that Disney World has to offer in all 4 of their parks in one day. So new challenge to add to it. There may be a bit more now. It may be like 48, 49, because that was before the Star Wars whole area kicked off. So anyway, but I love doing these kinds of things because I like the hustle. I like to work up a little sweat, especially in that summer sun down in the middle of Florida. But it wasn't until just a couple of years ago that you actually put in my mind of like, hey, you can get a nice little jog in or go to a gym that they have, an on-site fitness center at Disney, and get a little workout in. So then you can enjoy your day a little bit more. And so my entry into this was probably about a decade ago when you and I started really talking about Disney a lot. What about you?
Yeah. So, I've done some things, I've gone to weight rooms and stuff on property. They're not at every hotel on Disney property. Like the what they call the value resorts, which are the cheaper ones. Those do not have weight rooms, but some of the other places do. But there's always some place to run or bike. So at the time I was running, my background is Port Orleans. It is one of my favorite resorts, and there are all sorts of paths, and you can just go run around. I'm one of those guys who just kind of starts some music, starts my timer, and takes off. Let my GPS track me, tell me how fast I'm going. But just kind of zigzag, go around, and when I'm halfway done, I just turn around and kind of find my way back.
Make your way back. Yeah.
Um, you know, as I was traveling for work, I may have gotten lost in downtown Tampa once or twice. Um, but that's beside the point. At Disney, you're going to be safe pretty much anywhere you are on property. So I've gone running. The boardwalk is fantastic. I know people who bike through the area. They live down there and they will bike through the resort area. But lots of different options. I've had people tell me they have run marathons and half marathons, which is really cool. Florida is very flat.
It's true.
And so it's one of the flattest courses, from what I understand, for marathons and half marathons. I've not run down there. I've heard the crowds can get pretty big,
I bet.
but also I think their production of just taking care of everybody is really unparalleled as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of different options, especially revolving around running.
For me, as far as running goes, I know the last trip that you and I took down it was a year and a half ago, right now, January 2021. This was August of 19. I just took off one morning. We had camped out at Fort Wilderness, and I just took off, kind of what you're talking about. I let my phone and my watch tell me where I was and how long I'd been gone and how long I had run. But I was just trying to kind of soak up the sights, being there on a Disney property. If I'm running somewhere around in my neighborhood, I'm usually more attuned to, I know when I hit this little mile marker, I'm at 0.3 miles and here's a mile and a half. And so I kind of know that, and that's how I'm judging things. But in Disney, it was so difficult not to just forget about what I was trying to track and just keep going. So I know at one point in my run, I was like, oh, I've got to turn around now, or I'm not going to get back to you in order for us to get to the place where we need to go so that we can go do all the things that we had planned. And so I know that we ended up meeting at a pool at Fort Wilderness because I had to cool down because I had been running that whole time and we were about to go play putt-putt or miniature golf. So it's easy to get lost down there because there's so many things to see and just to I can't believe I'm running on boardwalk right now. This is so cool. Doing it before the crowds get there or after the crowds left in the evening, sort of thing.
And one thing that I love is it's just someplace different. That's one of the things that I loved about running when I was traveling all the time. Running is not necessarily my favorite. If I run too long, it does hurt my knees and my joints. And I've taken up biking for the most part, but it's hard to fly with a bike when you're flying every week or every other week for months at a time. So I would just pack some running shoes and some shorts and I'm ready to go. But I got to see something different, which was always great. Well, sometimes it was great. Sometimes I got lost and, just don't tell my wife.
Southern Florida towns. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that was not the only place I got lost, but it's great. I just love getting outside and sweating. Also, if you're down there when it's normally snowy and cold and rainy back home, it's nice to be able to get out and maybe it's not 80 degrees, but maybe it's 70 degrees or 60 degrees, first thing in the morning or in the evenings. And it's good for just, hey, okay, I can get outside. I'm not bitterly cold. I personally love to get outside and sweat, but also running is not the only thing. They do have, your more traditional weight rooms with some free weights and some machines, and they also have spas. So maybe you've worked out or maybe you've walked 40, 50,000 steps. I don't know how many steps you get in at a park a day.
Yeah.
But sometimes your body's aching a little bit. They've got those spas where you can go, get a massage, do I'm sure some sort of a soak or something. There are pools and hot tubs on property. at a bunch of different resorts. So there are a lot of options to make sure you're taking care of your body physically all over Walt Disney World.
Yeah, I think I heard that the majority, if not all, of the upper level resorts have some sort of gym, some sort of workout room, treadmills, and those types of things if the weather is inclement outside. And I believe that there are a few, like maybe Port Orleans, maybe one other one at the moderate level that have a gym. But other than that, those other moderate level and the not as expensive ones don't have those. But again, like you're saying, so many different places to exercise. And the easiest one, because it just doesn't require much equipment, is getting out there and walking or jogging or running the trails. Go with a buddy, go by yourself, whatever it may be. Again, like you're saying, if you're traveling anyway, you need comfortable shoes being down at Disney. So you almost have right what you need if you're not like an experienced runner that needs the specific shoes for walking, specific shoes for trail running, track running, that kind of thing. You kind of already have what you need. And so it's just such a simple thing to guess there. I actually looked up a family who blogs at wdwbasics.com. They track themselves over several years of going to Disney every year with 2 kids in tow. And what they did, and they averaged somewhere between 15,000 to 20,000 steps a day, which equates out to close to 7 miles up to like 10, 11, 12 miles. And those are with kids. So if you don't have kids and you're doing the parks, you could get 12, 15,000 steps in a day. But even if you do, and more typical, like some of these numbers that I'm looking at here, you're still working in, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles a day, just walking the parks. But sometimes it's nice to be able to cool down after that and go soak in the pool like you're talking about. Do some self-care after all that walking, or you need a good jog in the morning to make sure you get your exercise in that you would typically get. And then everything walking in the parks, if you go later, just, icing on the cake.
Yeah. Well, it's so I can eat the icing on the cake. And, some people, whether it's in the morning before they get started or in the evenings, like you said, to kind of unwind and cool down, you need some quiet, some just alone time. And so it's a great way. Just walk your resort, especially if you're at a moderate or deluxe resort. The scenery is much more luscious than at some of the value resorts, which feel more like just a themed motel. But that's kind of what you're paying for. But great walking trails all over the place, especially at the campgrounds. Really love getting lost. It's not like when I got lost in downtown Tampa. You can get lost in the woods at the campgrounds at Fort Wilderness. Love that. I want to say that the spas where you can get massages in I'm not into that sort of thing. I've had one massage. It was pretty good. I don't know, but it's just
I'm into it. Bring them on, baby. Yeah.
But you don't have to be staying at those deluxe resorts. I think, for fear of being wrong, I'm not going to say where they are, but there are 2 or 3 spas, and it doesn't matter where you're staying. You can make an appointment to go visit that spa. No matter where you're staying. I don't even think you have to be staying on property. So if you're a local, I think
you're right, yeah. I
think you can just make an appointment and go get a massage or, whatever you do at a spa. I don't know. I'm not cultured in that way. But
if you are though staying at one of those value resorts and do want to work out, you can buy a pass. Like I think it's a 24-hour pass for somewhere between $12 and $15 per day. And again, that can add up. But if you know that you need to make sure that you lift weights during your time there because of whatever thing that you're doing, your training, your diet, your program that you're doing when you're at home and not on vacation, you can still access those even if you stay at a value resort. And so it may be worth your time to pay for the value resort costs for everything you're doing, knowing that for an extra $12, $15 you're going to put on top of that to run over to Boardwalk or to Yacht and Beach Club to work out, whatever that may be. But to know that you can be staying in another place as long as you then pay for the right to work out inside the gyms.
Yeah. So, I got to say that because Walt Disney World Resort is so big, you can get a lot of those options. Just talking about health and wellness in a bigger scheme at sit down restaurants, and maybe we need to do our own episode on this. At sit down restaurants, you can actually talk to the chef if you've got certain food allergies or certain things that you can't eat based on dietary restrictions. My son has a laundry list of food allergies. So we're always, when we're on the road traveling to see family, we're having to check, hey, can we eat at this fast food restaurant? Can we eat at that one? They make it really easy because you can talk to the chef and they can help you understand the menu. But they can, Disney also provides all these ways for you to stay physically active because, heck, who wants to walk 15 miles a day every day on a 7-day vacation? Well, maybe me, but probably not everybody. A lot of people want to take pool days. I totally get it. My wife loves pool days. Fine, we'll do that. But I may get up 30 minutes early and go for a run. So lots of options.
Ton of options. And I will say this too. If you are a person who does like to work out often, you may find that just going inside the parks or like it's just what the doctor ordered. And you may go for a jog or may try to find one of those gyms or fitness centers on days when you're not going to be walking around the parks, maybe more of a pool lounge day, or I'm just going to go to Disney Springs, or I'm just going to be, hanging out and going out to eat somewhere cool for today. That's good too. If you're not used to this type of fitness regime where you're doing it often, I'll just say that a lot of people go, especially for the first time to Disney, and they don't realize how much they're going to be walking. And if you can look at an Apple Watch or a Fitbit and realize you're putting in 8-9 hours when you're used to sitting behind a desk in a cubicle somewhere, I would advise as you're getting ready to go, just go on some afternoon walks. Start out with a 20-minute walk and work that up into trying to walk for an hour or so just to get your body acclimated to all that. If you're already there, awesome, add on to it, knock yourself out. But if you're not, try to plan a couple of weeks leading to it that like, okay, 3 days this week, I need to go for a nice little walk here to get my body and my family's bodies ready for this if you're not used to it.
That's a great point. And it made me think of something else. Not only do they do marathons and half marathons, which you do need to train at home before you go try one of those on property. They also, before the pandemic, I'm hoping they'll bring this back. They did kind of fun runs. It was races. They had courses set up. There weren't necessarily medals and prizes to be won. But I think 2 or 3 times a week, different resorts would have these different fun runs. And that's something you can ask when you're checking in.
That's great.
There's probably nothing happening right now because there are no marathons happening either. We'll see what happens as we get later into 2021. But lots of options. Granted, a lot of it's walking or running, but there are other options as well. So go check those out at Disney property. Chris, now it's time for plussing.
Already? Man,
already.
We ran right through it.
Plussing.
So for plussing, look, the Disney Plus, I'm going to continue to say this until we're out and about more. There's some cool stuff on there, and there's a series on Disney Plus called Becoming. And let me look it up. It's just stories of how people became who they are today. And they're about 24 minutes long. But this series, it starts out, the very first episode is Anthony Davis, NBA player, talks about how he got started in basketball and how his journey led him to the NBA. Then in the third episode, it's Candace Parker, who was a Lady Vol. I'm a big Tennessee fan. Arguably the best WNBA player the world has ever seen. I remember watching her dunk in, I think she was the first woman to dunk in a college basketball game. So she's in there. And then it ends with Rob Gronkowski, tight end, first for the New England Patriots, as we speak, currently for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But it's just a tie-in of these world-class athletes in Disney. So if you need some motivation, go watch that. And we'll be talking a little bit more about those at-home motivations next week when we talk about exercising off Disney property.
Love it. I love the series. It's one that I haven't watched yet, but it's on my queue to watch. It's so crazy. We're in such a happy medium of having, we have to stay home a lot more these days, but there's a lot more to watch with all these different streaming services, and Disney Plus never seems to disappoint with all of these stories that they're creating on all of the platforms. And so I'm a huge Disney Plus fan. We as a family watch it multiple times a week. And so Becoming is something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah. And it's not just athletes. They've got actors, comedians, directors, music artists, dancers. They're 10 episodes, and it really covers the gamut of different stars.
It's true.
And how they got to where they are. So go check that out. Also, want to say this: we just launched something on Facebook where we can have discussions. So you can go find us on Facebook at The Mouse and Men. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can get all those links at themouseandmen.com. You can also get a link to YouTube, but just launched this week, we now have The Lounge. And what is The Lounge? It's a Facebook group for grown-ups, for grown-ups at Disney, really. We talk about exactly what we're talking about here, but we can have more open discussions. So have you exercised on property? We had somebody talk about their experience running in, I believe it was the Princess, either marathon or half marathon.
That's cool.
Got to talk about Disney's Soul. So these conversations we have on the podcast continue over at The Lounge. So go check that out. You can find us on Facebook, The Lounge for the Mouse and Men. If you go to our page on Facebook, you can find the group there. But Chris, look, I'm really excited that Disney has given us all these options to stay active. It's kind of opposite of sitting and watching a movie for 2 hours. Yeah. But really grateful that they give us these options while we're on property.
Yeah, it's true. It's so special to be able to be on property and go into a park and follow by the map and go do these specific rides, but going and having a nice jog through wherever you're staying or at a theme park or whatever it may be, around boardwalk, whatever it is such an adventure that you can do on your own. And you can say, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to take a ride, or I'm going to go up here and keep going straight. And it's your own adventure that you can ride while you're at Walt Disney World. And so I love that as well, and staying on top of your health, but then also being able to choose your own adventure while you're at Disney.
Well, hey, staying active keeps you young. And Truth. As we like to say here on The Mouse and Men, don't grow up too fast.
But as we're running around the parks and everywhere else in life, we got to keep exploring.